It was such a mistake to move in with my mother-in-law. I let out a heavy sigh listening to her complaints. My name is Matilda, 31 years old. My 28-year-old husband Mike and I got married 3 years ago. When we just started living together, we had a few quarrels, but we were living happily. A year after our marriage, Mike's dad passed away. Mike was worried about his grieving mother, Amanda, so we moved in with her. I never imagined she was so nasty and snide. I didn't mind if it was a little complaint, but what she did was more like degrading me. It was all a baseless personal attack. Don't just stay in the room and play on your computer. Do some housework, you bum. I heard her sarcastic tone of voice coming from the hallway. She came to complain right after she finished her breakfast. I made breakfast, didn't I? I wanted to retort, but restrained myself, only for the time being. I was planning to clean the house after you finished eating. Besides, I wasn't playing on the computer. I was actually working. You always make excuses. You think I'm stupid and don't know anything about computers? I'm not making up excuses. Our generation works on computers all day long. I was a certified accountant and worked from home. I used to work at my friend's office for a while after I graduated, but I switched to freelance. Most of my job could be done on the computer, so I worked from home to balance with housework. I explained that to her before, but she shrugged it off, saying just a part-time job. I wasn't good enough to hold a real job in her head. I wasn't sure if she made irrelevant sarcasm because she couldn't keep up with the modern world, or if she just picked on me out of hatred. I assumed both. Anyway, I was kind of a person who wanted to work for the rest of my life, so we just couldn't get along. I had always put my effort into housework even while working to confront her prejudice. I woke up early to prepare breakfast for 3. I cared about our health, so I cooked a light menu of mostly vegetables for dinner. I didn't slack on cleaning either. All these efforts had the opposite effect on Amanda in the end. She stopped doing any of the housework and just criticized everything I did. She led a carefree life of watching TV all day long or going out for bingo and coffee with her friends sometimes. A woman like her was calling me, who was highly regarded in my field, a bum. I wanted to throw it back to her. One day, when I was spending my days in annoyance, I opened my credit card bill and my eyes popped out of my head. What is all this? $1,500 for a suit? $2,000 for a bag? I didn't remember buying such expensive things. When I checked the detail, they were paid with Mike's card. I asked him immediately, "Hey, did you buy the suit and the bag?" "Oops, you saw." "Yes, I did. I need it for work." "Even so, you're just a regular salesman, right? It doesn't have to be this expensive." His suits used to cost about $300, and his bag too was more or less the same. "Well, the expensive ones are much better quality. They make me feel more confident, and most importantly, they look better." "See? Don't you think I look better these days?" "I'm not sure." He didn't look better to me at all. A young guy in his 20s wearing a suit that didn't fit his stature. The suits looked better than him, and contrary to what he thought, he looked undignified. "You have no sense of fashion," Amanda forcefully interrupted our conversation. "You look amazing, Mike. So handsome."
Thanks, Mom.
"You are living off of this salary and complain about how he spends? You have thick skin. Who do you think you are?" I was angry at her for intruding on our conversation and said whatever she wanted to say. Who did she think she was? I didn't care about this ignorant woman, but I was angrier with Mike, who didn't help me out. I had tons of things to say to him, but no matter what I said, Amanda was going to rant on his behalf. Instead of trying to carry on, I firmly warned him. "Anyway, stop buying expensive things or let me know first." I ended at that, but my warning didn't work at all. On the contrary, his spending increased. It was all for his leisure, such as an expensive meal at a restaurant, a scarf, and a wallet from a designer brand, and long-distance car hire. There seemed to be nothing related to his work. When we first got married, he didn't act like this. The cause of this change was Amanda. "You're the head of the household, so stand on your ground. Don't help with housework. Just because Matilda is older doesn't mean you have to do what she says. You make her understand that you are above her." Like an incantation, she chanted to him every day. Indecisive and without a will of his own, he was easily influenced by her. In order to change him back to his former self, I had no contained her cursed on him. I was determined and went to her room. "What do you want? I'm busy. If you want to talk, make it short." She was just lounging around, watching TV and drinking tea. "Please listen to me carefully. We cannot save any money because of Mike's overspending. We must save some in case of emergencies like sudden illness or repairs of the house." "That's just you aren't good at making ends meet. At this age, he must be making at least $90,000 a year, right?" "You're off by one digit." "What? Is he making $100,000? It seemed one digit means $10,000 in her mind, but I kept quiet. She must have taken my silence as an affirmation. Her eyes danced with delight. "Anyway, please tell him to stop overspending." Okay. That's all? If so, please leave." She waved her hand as if to get rid of a fly. I rolled my eyes. A few days later, Amanda excitedly barged into my room. "What is it?" Stunned, she shoved papers to me with a smug look on her face. "Sign this and divorce Mike now. You are after his money from the beginning, you gold digger." Mike's sections were already signed. I took the papers from her hand and went to Mike. "Hey, Mike, did you sign this?"
I did. Mom says you're after my money.
"I see. And you believe her?"
Well, she's my mom.
As soon as I heard it, I made up my mind. "Okay, let's get divorced." I packed up the papers, my computer, some valuables, and clothes in my suitcase and left the house. My parents lived too far away that I couldn't easily go back there. I checked into a motel and tried to calm down for the time being. Getting the divorce was finalized in my mind. What did she mean by I was after his money? I couldn't stand living with a man who was so dependent on his mom. I was going to sign and submit them the next day. Getting the divorce didn't bother me. It was actually a godsend, so I wasn't gonna argue. But there was something unforgivable. I went through my credit card statement and came up with the perfect retaliation. After I submitted the divorce papers, I was enjoying my single life. I chose an apartment with good security, so it was a bit expensive, but my income and savings were sufficient enough. I realized how stressed I was living with Mike and Amanda. About a month after the divorce, I received a call from Mike.
Yes, hello? Matilda, please, listen.
What is it? I'm listening. I already sent you an email asking you to get rid of everything I left behind.
Not that. I'm in trouble. My card has been declined.
Your card? You blacklisted bastard. Of course it is. You say it's yours, but you're just a family member. If I, the primary member, canceled it, you cannot use it anymore.
What? You did?
I'm not your wife anymore. You're on your own. I hung up on him. He kept calling me like there was no tomorrow, but I never picked up. Mike actually was way behind in payments on his credit cards before we got married. I took over and paid them all off for him. Looking back on it, I should have cleaned up my relationship with him then. Well, no point in regretting. He most likely wasn't able to make a new car because of his bad credit history. Anyway, it was none of my business at all. A few days after Mike called, I saw someone hovering around in front of my apartment building. It was Amanda. She happened to see me on the street and followed me. I was impressed with her blunt action. I need to talk to you. She clamored and clung to me at once, so I reluctantly took her to a cafe nearby. What do you want now? Well, about this. Amanda was holding my bank statement. It was from a few months ago, so I didn't need it. Is this your salary? Yes, this is what I earn working from home. You used to say it was just part-time. I am a professional. She kept quiet. Her hand holding the statement was trembling. I can't believe it wasn't my son earning 6 figures. That's no way that idiot could make that much. You're too naive. I said once and for all. Her peanut brain really believed it was her son. Mike was making 1/10 of my income. He worked as a salesman with a low base salary with a big commission. The more he sought, bigger the paycheck. But that carefree guy was happy as long as he got his base. He was totally relying on my salary. Oh no, he must not have even had the tactic of relying on me. Amanda finally grasped the reality. Sweetie, it's not too late to get back with. Too late, I firmly replied. How amusing. Even thought her suggestion was interrupted. She, undaunted, spoke with a sweet tone of voice. You were once in love and got married. It should be a shame to just part like this. Not at all. It's more shameful to have you guys spend my hard-earned money. Oh my God, you're terrible. Don't depend on me and go work yourself. Then you won't be a bum either. Is that your only concern? You're so awful to disregard an old woman. I took no notice of her ranting and jauntily left the cafe. I felt relief from the stress of living with her. After seeing Amanda's distorted look of dismay, I planned to deliver the final blow to Mike. One Friday night, I ambushed him in front of a building downtown. It was a kind of red light district where his strip club was located. Mike showed up after 9 p.m. with a girl dressed like a skimpy dress.
What are you doing here?
You are an idiot. You've been using my credit card at this place? I had seen the name of the club on several statements, and it was always on Friday. Once I'd had a name, it was easy to find the location. Honey, who is this? The girl in his arm looked in her early 20s. The hem of her skirt was up to her crotch, and her top revealed her cleavage. Hi, I'm his ex-wife. In other words, just a stranger.
Shut up!
I came to tell you something. Please pay back the debt. I took over before we got married, and the money you spent during the marriage. My lawyer will send you a detailed invoice in a few days. Please take care of it. Also, it seems you got a lot of gifts from him, but I paid for all that.
Wait, Matilda!
Ignoring him, I walked away, clacking my heels on the street. How about it? I felt so cool. I heard Mike and his girlfriend arguing. I assumed the girlfriend was the one he had been cheating on me with. I had seen a list of transactions from a cosmetic store, a brand name popular with young women, and even the motel. All of these suspicious purchases were made on Fridays. Of course, all the payments at the strip club were also made on Fridays. I later found out that he spent Friday afternoons with his girlfriend. He bought whatever she asked him to, and then went to her work together. By looking at the pattern of their activities from the statement, I came up with the idea to confront him in person on the spot. I assumed they would have a dramatic end after his girlfriend found out the truth about his wealth, just as I declared to him. I sent him an invoice through my lawyer. As soon as he received it, he and Amanda visited my lawyer.
Please help us. You're a lawyer. You're supposed to help people in need, right?
They cried out. When my lawyer asked him about the situation, they told him that they received a pile of final notice from the credit card, electricity, gas, water, and even taxes. Mike's salary wasn't enough to cover all of that. Amanda's savings were meager. On top of it, I didn't know you were married. I was cheated. I want compensation. Mike's girlfriend demanded a large amount of money.
I'm not in a position to pay back, Matilda. I want you to tell me how to clear this debt.
He had consulted with the totally wrong person. My lawyer was supposedly at odds with him.
If you own the house, why don't you sell it and use the proceeds to pay off your debt?
He advised at first, and then he reminded Mike that if he didn't repay me, we were going to a court. Hearing this, Mike and Amanda went home weak with disappointment. Later on, my lawyer was asked to wait for the payment while they saw the house. I didn't have a choice. It took some time, but the money was returned. He did a terrible thing to me, and I could have demanded alimony as well. I was nice enough to ask only for the credit card, so he should have been thankful. I also had them on a restraining order, so I never have to see them. I felt amazing. I laughed out loud in the comfort of my apartment. Well, Mike and Amanda ended up renting a tiny shabby house after they sold the house and paid off the debts. I had passed it by before. The ivy covered the whole house and the paint was peeling off the wall. It looked like it was built 50 years ago. It was the only place Mike's salary and Amanda's pension could afford. I thought he had learned this lesson from this and started working hard, but he went the opposite. He was finally fired from his work. He never looked for another job and started drinking all day at home. He fell down the stairs one day and was rushed to the hospital by ambulance, while Amanda was busy taking care of him and trying to come up with the money to pay the bill. She strained her back and became immobile. Perhaps because she stopped moving around, she started showing the symptoms of dementia and couldn't be left alone. She was on the waiting list for moving into an inexpensive care facility. I got a call from a relative of Mike, who gave me the devastating update one day. She also asked for those two if I had any interest in getting back with Mike. My answer was no, of course. She seemed to expect it, and I never heard from her again. I moved again 2 years after the incident. This time, I'm not alone. I live with my new life partner. After my divorce, I changed the way I worked. I moved back in with my parents and worked in an office nearby. Not only Amanda, but my parents are getting old too. I want to be close to them in case they need me. I met my new husband at work. He's a year younger than me and very reliable. Totally the opposite of Mike. He loves and cares for me more than anything. I didn't feel secure enough to have a child with the income and the personality of Mike, but my current husband and I should be able to raise a child together. With a positive pregnancy test in my hand, I could imagine my husband's happy face, which makes me grin. I will have a happy family and joyful life. I renewed my determination.
Where the hell is my safe? It used to be in the bathroom, but it suddenly disappeared. Gotta call the police. Wait a minute. My husband swiftly quieted my panic. You're such a drama queen. I took the safe. What the? Why did you do that? It's my saving. What did you spend my $300,000 on? My husband shook his head disapprovingly. Your money is my money. I bought a house to live in with my mom. What? I was going to tell you, but you found out, so I tell you now. Divorce me. I got your saving, so you're no longer needed. What kind of surprise was this? I was too astounded by his triumphant attitude that I couldn't protest. Understood. Have a nice life with your mother. Great, you're being so reasonable. So long. Watching him leave cheerfully, I felt such gratefulness in my heart. Honestly, it turned out better for me that he took my safe. I was planning to destroy his life with what was inside anyway. What a fool to bring it onto himself. Forget the nice life. My name is Mary. I'm a 35 years old housewife. I was living with my husband Dan and our daughter Lydia in a suburb. I met Dan about 10 years ago. After graduating from university, I joined the workforce and was introduced to him by my colleague. He had a gentlemanly appearance, and his personality was calm and collected. We were first friends, but it didn't take us long to romantically involved. After 5 years of dating, We were both close to 30 years old, and the words of marriage started popping up. We wanted kids for sure, so it was natural to go that way. We did get married, and a year after, we were blessed with our first baby. We became a family of 3 with a long-awaited our own daughter. It was such a joy to watch her grow fast. The little baby started walking alone one day and started talking next, and then finally she started preschool. But not everything was perfect. Dan and I, of course, had some quarrels, and there were times I was troubled with the childcare. But as with anyone else, I overcame the obstacles. Smooth sailing. Yet I had one problem. Well, maybe not a problem, but more like an annoyance. Anyway, there was one thing which bothered me. It was Dan's mom, Anita. In other words, my mother-in-law. She lived alone in our neighborhood. Her husband was still with her until a year before. When he passed away, she decided to remain in the house. She loved him so much that losing him was quite hard on her. She caved inside the house for a while, but she must have accepted the reality and started coming out with a smile on her face. I was very happy for her for sure. However, it also created a problem. She had always been obliging and was willing to help us out from the beginning. But even though it was coming from her kindness, it became overstepping the boundary. For example, while everyone was out for work or school, she let herself in with a copy of our house key and cooked or rearranged room decorations. Not only this, but she also meddled with our family planning and advised on the plan to purchase our own house. "Hi, Mary. How are you? I prepared your dinner already, and the laundry is done too. They are still in the dryer." "Oh, thank you so much, Anita. But you don't need to do all that. We can take care of our own things." "Oh no, I don't mind at all. We are family. I can do even more if you'd like. You know, I will redecorate your bedroom sometime." I knew she really did these things with good intentions, but I still didn't get it. I didn't think she was malicious and tried to harass me or anything like that, which made it more complicated. I didn't want to disrespect her, so I consulted my friends. Some of them thought it was very nice of her, so I couldn't just bitch about it. I had spoken to Dan about her once, but there was no point. "Hey, I want to talk to you about your mom." "You know, she has no ill wish, so let her be. Isn't it better that you don't have to cook and clean anyway? We need to appreciate her." "I just want her to let us know before she does something." "Man, you're too much. So should I tell her then? Whatever she does for us is unwelcome, so don't come over. Is that it?" Whenever I tried to speak to him about her, he ended up irritated with me. He was usually nice and calm, except when it was about his mom. He was the only son, so maybe he was trying to protect her after his dad passed away. Even so, I had a hard time accepting his stance. Then one weekend, the whole family was asleep until 9 a.m. I got up and went to the kitchen to make a coffee. I realized that I left my phone in the bedroom while pouring water into a machine. After setting it up, I went back to the bedroom. Dan and Leah were still sleeping, so I opened the door quietly. As expected, they were still in their deep slumber. I walked slowly toward the side table. When I grabbed my phone, I saw the walk-in closet door was ajar. It should have been closed properly last night. I didn't have a recollection of going into the closet, so I assumed it was down. I walked toward the closet, and when I was about to close the door, there was something strange about it. I felt a swoosh of bad feeling and opened the door wide. "No, no way! My safe is gone!" I completely forgot about Dan and Lydia and screamed at the top of my lungs. What to do? Whoever thought such a thing would happen? I was in total shock and couldn't think straight. I finally came to the sense and I need to call the police. When I was about to tap the emergency button, Dan finally woke up. What are you making the noise for? You're gonna wake Lydia up, he yawned. Babe, my safe is gone. I need to call the police. I looked down at my phone to tap the button, but he rushed to stop me. Wait a minute. Don't be drama. Drama? This is drama. My safe is gone. Push disappeared. This is huge. He stared at me while he was looking for words. He looked suspicious. I thought he knew something, so I demanded, Do you have something to say? If not, I will call the police. He kept silent for a bit, and then he finally opened his mouth. I took your safe out, and your cash card as well. I was too stunned that my mouth was agape. I regained my composure and checked my wallet. Indeed, my cash card was gone. I turned to face down. He looked relieved from confession, like he had no care in the world. It made me even more enraged. Why did you take it without my permission? It's my saving inside. What in the world did you buy with my $300,000? My husband shook his head disapprovingly. Your money is my money. I actually bought a house. It's a bit farther out in the countryside. I found quite a good-sized house for $300K. What the hell? A countryside? What are you gonna do with your work? I have a job too, and Lydia will need to change her school. I raised my voice scolding him, but I could care less at that point. He frowned at me for being offended, and then he dropped a bigger bomb. What do you mean? I bought the house for my mom and me, just the two of us. You've been unhappy with her. I'm not gonna keep letting you disrespect her and just look away. Huh? Do you even know what you're saying, you idiot? I snapped at him. He told me to shut up and kept going with his rant. I don't need a penniless wife now. Take custody and just let me get a divorce, okay? I was too astounded by his triumphant attitude that I couldn't protest anymore. Then Lydia, who must have been startled by our shouting, woke up. I picked her up in my arms from the bed. He chose his mother over his precious daughter. If so, there was no point keep arguing with him. I decided, okay, let's get a divorce. Have a nice life with your mother, he said, grinning. Great, you're being fair. Wait here, I will get the divorce papers. Surprisingly, he had already prepared our divorce papers. He went out of the bedroom and quickly returned with them, which he shoved in front of me. I saw that he signed it already. You can submit them. I'm going back to my mom's. He started packing his things up. I stared at the size of his face for a while. It was like looking at a complete stranger. There was no sign of Dan I fell in love with. I'm hungry, Mommy. Lydia had no idea what was going on and spoke innocently. Let's have breakfast, sweetie. I walked out of the bedroom with Lydia in my arms. A few days after the incident, Lydia and I were spending time at home. I took a leave from work for a while. If I was to divorce, there were some legal matters within the company to be taken care of, so I had spoken to my boss about bits and pieces of my circumstance. He told me to take the leftover paid leave and take it easy. I really appreciated his understanding. I informed Lydia about the divorce. It was hard for her to understand the situation, but I tried to tell her as much as I could. Daddy likes Granny more than me? She asked simply and then stopped talking about him. How sad. I must protect her and never let her feel unfortunate. Mommy, your phone is ringing. I must have been deep in my thoughts that I didn't hear my phone. Thanks, honey. Can you play along while I'm on the phone? I picked up the phone in my hand and saw Dan on the screen. I expected him to call me sooner or later. Yes? He started ranting as soon as I answered.
God, you took a long time. Hey, what's that about? Why is there such a thing in the safe? You better explain.
He sounded half sobbing while shouting. As you can see, or it's more like as you can hear, it's evidence of you and your mom stealing my money. I know everything. You took the safe because your mom put it in your head, right? I mean, you're still responsible for being influenced so easily. Anita was the one who came up with the idea and sent Dan to do the heavy lifting and buy a house. I actually knew she was eyeing my safe for a while. One day, when she let herself in the house, she assumed I was out and didn't see me in the living room. I watched her going right into the bedroom, which made me wonder why. I followed and observed her quietly. She disappeared into the walk-in closet and made some noise, and then left the house immediately after. When I checked what she had done, I found the safe scratched with some metal or something. 2 days after the incident, my safe disappeared. I remembered about it after Dan and I had fight.
But when did you record this? You weren't around when we were discussing.
You really didn't know. I was actually there. That's why there is a recording. A day after he gave me the divorce papers, I went to Anita's house. I couldn't do much about getting a divorce and having my money used, but I couldn't stand to let it go without saying anything to her. When I got to her house, an idea popped up in my head. I was going to revenge on her. I too had a copy of her house key, so I decided to let myself inside and freak her out. It was nothing compared to what she had done, but at least something. As soon as I got inside, I heard her and Dan talking. They were discussing the house they bought in the countryside. I immediately turned on the recording on my phone without thinking. Then Anita started laughing in her glory. She was enjoying the conversation about how she managed to take my savings successfully. I finally realized it was all her doing at that point. I was outraged that I almost jumped on her, but I kept my cool and continued recording. When the conversation was coming to the end, I went back home and downloaded the data into a USB, and then returned to Anita's house. You see, I left the USB in the safe then. Are you gagging? Dan couldn't say a word after knowing the truth, but I heard someone else taking over. You bitch! What are you hoping to get from this? Your money is already spent, so there's no point anyway. Stop blackmailing us. She was hysterical. Indeed, the money had been spent as she said. I saw only a few $100s left in the safe. You're wrong. There is a point. I heard from someone that you bought the house through an agency where Dan's friend works, right? Yes, so? He's my friend as well. I knew him before Dan and introduced him. What do you think he would do if he heard this recording? Maybe he would report to the police. Maybe he would return the money after canceling the purchase. If so, there will be a penalty of the breach of contract and cancellation charge. As far as the truth goes, the agent who sold the house was really my friend, but the rest was bullshit. But for Anita, the effect was remarkable, and her voice was trembling. No way! It's your fault for just hoarding up money. I spent it on behalf of you. What will you do for us if we can't live in the new house? You better have a good solution. She screamed some incoherent threat. I don't quite get what you're saying. I have nothing to do with you now, so do what you want. When I pushed her away, I heard her desperate scream and hung up on her. I finally felt a little better. After that, I contacted my friend at the real estate agency. He sympathized with me when I explained the situation and even returned my money. I had a little hope, but I didn't really expect it. He said it was for an old friend, but he also mentioned he couldn't stand cheaters. Either way, I was elated to get my money back. The house Dan and Anita purchased was actually non-cancelable. My friend said however long it takes, I will have them repay. Thereby, they ended up working like slaves to pay the loan. Unfortunately for Dan, he had already quit his job to move to the countryside. There was no work that would pay as much as he used to earn, so he was forced to take multiple jobs. As for me, I used the money to buy a brand new apartment and moved in with Lydia and my parents. They offered to support me in the absence of a husband. I swore as I stroked the hair of Lydia, who slept with her head on my lap, that I would do whatever it took to raise her to be an honest person, unlike Dan and Anita, and give her a full happy life.